Good morning, Big Rapids. This is Big Rapids Buzz with Chris Long and
Bruce Borkovich. Good morning, everyone. Post-holidays, Happy New Year. Today we have Representative Tom Kunse with us. Tom, elaborate for a few moments about who you are, what you represent, or where you represent, and we'll get into a few more personal questions, but tell us who you are.
Sounds good. Bruce and Chris, first of all, thanks for having me. Happy New Year. I think 24 is going to be a great year, so I'm excited to be here. I'm the state representative for the 100th district, and that is Clare, Osceola, Mecosta, and I have a portion of Lake County, so I have 48 townships in that district. A little bit about me. I'm a Clare kid, raised there. My kids graduated high school there, married 25 years, a couple of adult children. Been in transportation for 30 years, and I've been in Lansing, last January, so I guess it's been just about a year now.
what hobbies do you have?
Oh, gosh. We came back from the Red Wings game last night. My son played hockey. We love that. So I officiated for years.
What team is he on?
No, he's done now.
Oh.
He's done now. So he played for the Mount Pleasant Patriots. Then he played a little bit in college. My daughter played basketball. So I officiated basketball in college. I officiated basketball and hockey. And those would probably have been my favorite pastimes. I enjoy that. Just about anything outside. I like to kayak. I'm an awful deer hunter because I just like to go sit in the woods. I mean, I'm happy just sitting there. So did get a deer this year, but enjoy
How
that.
big?
No, I shot a doe this year. Oh. Yep, passed up. We had several bucks, and I just didn't see one that I wanted to shoot. So the farm that I hunt on, my dad's farm, the soybeans have been decimated. So we could get crop damage permits, but I just didn't want to do the paperwork on it. So I just buy a doe permit and do that. It's just my wife and I in the house now, so 1 or 2 deer is about all we go through.
And there's so many opportunities to get over-the-counter doe permits.
Exactly.
That, years ago when you and I grew up, couldn't even get doe permits, and then they were like winning the lottery, and now you can pretty much buy all you want.
As many as you want. I think opening day we saw 65 deer.
Wow.
Right. And 8 or 10 bucks. And there's a 9 that we watched for a week, and he just wasn't the deer I wanted to shoot. So, not that I'm not a trophy hunter, but I'd like to shoot a nice buck. And we need to shoot does.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So,
and so you grew up on a farm.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You're one of, when you talk about we the people, you're we the people in our counties here.
I wish I don't have an exciting story. Like I said, a Clare kid, graduated from there. I went off to Michigan Tech and met a big city girl, married her and brought her home. And it's like the Jimmy Buffett song. And then 10 more years went away or passed away or something. Went by. Can't quote my Jimmy Buffett this morning, but that seems to be how life is, And pretty soon you look in the mirror, you're thinking, holy cow, that's my dad looking back at me, So.
Yeah, I always wish it was my dad looking back at me.
There you go.
You get to that age.
Yeah.
What are some unique challenges and opportunities in your district?
Oh, gosh. So the 100th district, I'm here. Why do this? Why do this? I used to tutor at this school, and that's one of the things I gave up when I ran. And we deal, and not just Clare County, but Osceola, Mecosta, Lake, we deal with intergenerational Appalachian-style poverty. I mean, some of these kids just don't see a pathway out. So we have got 2 amazing CTE, Career Technical Education. So I'm sorry if I throw out an acronym. We have 2 amazing CTEs. We have one in Clare Harrison district, and then of course we have the one here in Big Rapids, and they have different skills. What it does, the opportunity is, I think if we're going to change the world, we're going to do it through education. And what I'd love to show these kids is, I'm tutoring a kid that says, man, I just don't like school. Well, I understand that. It's not for everybody. Hey, do you want to make $100,000 a year and live in Big Rapids? Be an electrician. Do you want to make $100,000 a year and live in Reed City? Great. You know what? We need pipe fitters. We need welders. We need construction. And these are not jobs.
Your own company, be your own boss.
Sure. I think that's a great goal to have, but you don't have to go to college. Sure. I went to college, and by now you figured out we're not going to confuse education and intelligence. Those are two very different things. But that is the challenge. That's the goal for me, is what can we do? If we're going to change the world, let's leave the world a better place than we found it. So that would be my biggest. That's why I go to Lansing. What can we do? CTE is my top priority. So whatever they need, I'm in.
As a former educator, we're all taught there's one path. As parents, we all do it.
Right.
Go to college. And this past year, I substitute taught at the Career Center in the construction trades.
Perfect.
And it was fantastic, and it really reinforced the need, especially in our rural communities, to give young people pathways other than college. I'm not bashing college. I could, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Sometimes even as parents, what do? We grow up, eat your vegetables, be good, don't go to jail, graduate, and get good grades, go to college.
Yeah.
And we kind of condition young people at it. It's not a reasonable path for everyone. It's not a smart path for everyone.
Correct. And there's some, my daughter enjoys going to school. She just is excited about it. And my son's the opposite. He doesn't get up and he's not excited to go to school today. So you're right. It's not for everybody. And there's certainly great paths that are outside of the college route.
So the reason why we brought you here
we go,
was to talk about the wind and solar green energy bill thing that happened in early December.
Early November. Yeah, we adjourned November 9th. So, yeah.
So, can you give us a brief history just to catch up some people who are not familiar with it?
You bet. So, and again, I apologize if I go off the rails. Put the rubber hose down, Bruce. But just give me a sign. So, the MPSC, the Michigan Public Safety Commission, is an appointed committee. It's appointed by the governor, and it's 3 people. And when we have a public utility, DTE, Consumers, Cherryland Electric, when they say we'd like to raise our rates or we'd like to do this, maybe we want to take out some dams. Okay, the consumers' dams. This has to go to the MPSC, and allegedly they're nonpartisan, but that's not a thing. There's no such thing as nonpartisan. The MPSC now has the authority to make determinations on local zoning, and that's the biggest thing. So they have taken away local zoning. So we're across the street from the airport right now. And listen to me, the airport is not leaving. I'm using this as an example. Don't call the station. But let's say somebody says we're gonna put a wind farm at the Big Rapids Airport. We're gonna take the airport out, put a wind farm in there, and the local Green Township, Big Rapids Township says no, we don't want to do that. We're not going to do that. Well, now DTE can go to the MPSC, and I know I'm throwing out a lot of acronyms there. This industrial commercial power generator can go to the MPSC, and they will overrule local zoning. So it's just, I really don't like it. Government should be small, transparent, and local, right? This is how the decision should be made. And it's just egregious. It was done along party lines. It was 56-54. 56 Democrats voted yes. 54 Republicans voted no. I really don't like taking away local input. So we could, oh my gosh, if you guys want to go, we've been here 10 minutes. Let's touch the third rail. Could you imagine if the Goshen zoning was determined in Lansing, right? Take it away and say, listen, local, we really don't want your input. We're going to make this decision for you. And that's just a terrible policy. This should be decided on at the community level, not just Goshen. I use that. Maybe that's an example I shouldn't have used, but wind and solar should be decided on locally. So,
but isn't this just laying the groundwork for those type of movements? This looks like a small bite to some people. Well, it's just wind and solar. But couldn't the next law pass, or 1, 3, 4, 5 years from now, be all zoning will be done in Lansing? To me, it's
correct.
It's not an issue. It's a constitutional issue.
Correct.
It's not a use specific issue.
I absolutely agree. And we have made a decision. We want to live here. This is the life we've chosen, right? We want to live here. I don't mind living next to a dairy farm. I understand that. This is home for me. So when we take away that local zoning, you're right. It feels like a takeover from, it's the big government overreach. And then to send it to an appointed board. This is not an elected board. There's no accountability. And the law says, if you read it, it doesn't say they may issue the permit. It says they shall issue the permit. So it's one of those, there's not even a decision to be made. So I absolutely agree. This is one of the slippery slopes of, hey, if you don't like this zoning, well, how about, multi-tenant housing on it? Or, pick whatever issue you'd like to be. I come back to it. Government should be small, local, and transparent. And this bill is the opposite of all of that. It takes it away. It's opaque. Who's on the MPSC? How are they appointed? And there's no accountability for it. And you can't challenge their decision.
Do you know who's on the?
That's funny. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know the 3 people that are on it. No, I can't name them. It's public. We can Google it. But what I'm saying is there's no qualifications. The governor could call tomorrow and say, hey, congratulations. Bruce, Chris, and Tom, you're now the new MPSC.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I don't even. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Oh my.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't even know if it's a paid position or not. My point is, everybody, in Michigan, our Supreme Court justices are elected. Our sheriffs are elected. Our prosecuting attorney, our local judges, our school board, our townships. Yeah, let's not touch that one. Our township boards are elected. Our state representative, everything. We answer. And if you don't like the job I'm doing, then you can say, hey, listen, I need you to, why did you do this? Or I'm not going to vote for you. Okay, but we don't have that opportunity of the MPSC, and that's why I think it's wrong.
Well, you've experienced some of that stuff recently. You kind of met the piranhas of the community, I think.
Lot of passion. There's certainly a lot of passion on that, and I understand that. I have always been. My mother jokes that I was named after Thomas the Doubter, and I wasn't, but I'm a why. Tell me why you do that, and I certainly appreciate people with passion. I think you have to have that. If there is a downside to social media, I saw today that the neighbor kid got engaged on New Year's Eve. That's great. So now we see this engagement picture, and it was a sunset photo, and that's beautiful. You love that. Now the problem is when we segue into something else, sometimes we lose our humanity. We lose our civility. We sit here in this community. Again, there's no, we're all sinners. All right. I certainly don't hold myself up as an aspiration. Hey, be like me. No, don't be like me. Pick somebody better than me to be like. But gosh, sometimes we lose our humanity online. We just
there's no question, that the anonymous nature of it. When you're there typing, there's no one right there.
Right.
To approve or disapprove of what you're going to say.
Correct.
And so emotions come out and you say things that you might not normally say.
And I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it.
We're humans.
Yep. Somebody jabs at me, somebody jab. And then finally I respond like, probably shouldn't have said that.
Probably.
Probably shouldn't have said that. So
absolutely.
But yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, a lot of passion, Chris. Let me say it. How's that for you? A lot of passion.
Yeah. What really flabbergasts me is this law was passed strictly along party lines.
Yes.
And it's hard to believe if people are honest, believe in the Constitution, it's hard to believe that there could be one total side for it, one total side against it, because this is very much a constitutional/freedom issue.
Absolutely.
And if my Democratic friends and neighbors and colleagues if they profess to be constitutionalists or believe in that, believe in the power of the people, how were you convinced to vote? It's the division between the two sides just flabbergasts me, because there has to be some people who say, I don't care what party I'm in.
Right.
I feel this is morally wrong, constitutionally wrong, fundamentally wrong. That's got to be a challenge for
Absolutely
you every day.
And like I said, it was 56-54 in the House, and it was 20 Democrats yes in the Senate, 18 Republicans no. I mean, it was party line all the way through. And this is polling, I really don't want to get off into the weeds, but the 109th district is Marquette. That's been right. And it's polling like 80% against it. And the state rep up there voted yes on it. Now imagine going to Marquette. Here are the Yoopers, and they're as independent as anybody, and I say that with respect. I admire that. Could you imagine going to a town hall meeting in Marquette and saying, you know what, I have voted to take away your right to make a decision on zoning, so they're getting a lot of heat for it. That's the deal. You sit in the chair, you push the button, you get to own your vote. So, it's back to the Teddy Roosevelt man in the arena. If you throw your hat in the ring and you do this, well, then you have to justify how you voted. So that's a tough one. The partisanship is certainly frustrating. That's been one of my eye openers in Lansing.
Were there any Republicans that voted yes on it?
None. Zero.
No. So what happened? Is he a Democrat up there?
No, it's a yes. I'm sorry. Yes, Jen Hill, Representative Jen Hill, is in the 109th, And I just,
She's Republican and voted
she's
yes?
a Democrat.
Oh.
She's a Democrat. Yes. That's one of the two Democrats north of Lansing. Traverse City has a Democrat representative, and Marquette has a Democrat representative, and they both voted yes on it. And, so there's 110 people in the state house, 110 representatives. And I can go to about 100 of them. There's 4 or 5 on either end of the spectrum who are pretty zealous. Like I just can't, and I'm not saying it's their fault. Maybe it's mine. I just can't connect with them. Jen Hill's one of the people I can go talk to. Jen, in my mind, the voting order is conscience, constituents, caucus. Meaning, if I think it's wrong, that's it. This is wrong. I'm going to vote no on it. But then the next thing you have to do is represent your constituents. It's got to be your constituents.
Why did she go against her community?
That would be a question for her. I don't know. And I think now she's feeling the heat from it. And certainly I don't wish ill on him, but this is one of those, there was no reason for it. We didn't have to vote on this in November.
Maybe we're going to have to help them replace it.
There you go. Yeah.
Chris, I was looking at you. We just dealt with this. I'm going to pick this scab because it's about healed over.
Make some phone calls.
But again, in this county, our recalls weren't because someone did or didn't support Goshen. Our recalls were specifically because elected officials did not represent the will of the people.
Right.
You can like Goshen all you want. I understand why you may. I don't, but I understand why you do. But that's and so it's interesting. And I know where I'm going to contradict you just a tad. I know where your heart was. You say vote your conscience. A good friend of mine said his dad once told him the scariest thing he ever heard a politician say was, "I voted my conscience." Now that takes a bit of analyzing. What he meant was that. When you say I vote my conscience, you're basing that on the rule of law, constitution, morality. But a person who votes their conscience, what is your conscience? Your job is to vote. You are nothing but a mouthpiece. You're a representative of your people. So your job is to vote for the will of the people within reason. Well, but follow the will of your constituents.
Right. Today's Monday. I don't think I can get 100% of the people to agree that tomorrow is Tuesday.
Yes.
I mean, there is an opposing side on everything, but at some point, there's no reason to rush. One of my frustrations in Lansing is it drags on, and then we do a bunch of stuff in a hurry. November 9th, we were there till 3 o'clock in the morning because we had to pass all these bills. Well, here's, freshman Tom Kunse, and I keep saying, why? We don't need to do this today, And that's what I went back to Representative Hill. Representative, we don't need to do that. There's no life-threatening issue here. Why don't we just tell them, I'm not going to vote on this right now. And if they don't have your vote, they're going to table it. We're going to come back in January. The Constitution says we start the second Wednesday in January. Why don't you go back, have a couple of town hall meetings, and get a feel for your community?
Why does the government push those, or the politicians that are leading those things, push all those bills at one time? Why do they do that? Is it just to get them passed through because they know you guys want to leave, or what? Right. Who's doing this?
So that we adjourned. Our last session day was November 9th. We actually officially adjourned November 12th, and that's the earliest we've adjourned in 55 years. That's the thing. And it really amazes me because the Democrats have the trifecta. They control the House, they control the Senate. Obviously, we have a Democratic governor. The reason why there were 2 Democrats that were running for mayoral races in their towns. Yeah. Now, remember, they have a 2-seat majority, 56-54. In Westland and Warren, those 2 Democratic representatives ran as mayors, and they won. So the reason they wanted to get all this stuff done is because they knew if they won. Now, when we go back in January,
Oh, that's a scam. They were basically trying to get their votes in because they knew they would lose them.
Correct.
That's a scam. That's so wrong.
So they're not going to, and this is where they're not going to lose them forever. But you're right. When we go back January 10th, it's 54-54. So now you're going to have some bipartisanship, and there's a lot of things we can work on. There's a lot of things we can work on together, but you're not going to get wind and solar zoning done. So they're going to have special elections. They're going to get those seats filled back up. But this is, you have to answer to somebody. So I don't know who was pushing the wind and solar because I think it's a terrible bill. But boy, they were in a hurry, and that's why.
You mentioned the mayor. Was it of Warren? Warren. They finally replaced Fultz. Because I used to live in Warren, and Fult's been in there like 25 years.
Yes.
He's been in there ridiculously long.
Yes, correct.
I don't even know how that kept happening, but they finally got rid of him.
Yes.
Wow.
Warren and Westland were the two cities
him.
that have new mayors. Yes.
Tom, this might be a little out of sequence, but that's okay. That's what we do.
Right. Let's not start now, right?
The constitutional concept of self-determination in Michigan, in many states, we call it the Home Rule Act. I know you're familiar with that. Educate us a little bit about what that is. That's question number one. And then question number two, is this a potential avenue for attack on this new law?
Yes. Yes to both of them. So the Home Rule Act, again, it's in our Constitution, and it says exactly, this is one of those truth in advertising issues. Home rule. We get to make our own decisions. We have a right to determine this. So
we at local level.
We at the local level.
Yes.
Correct. And it comes back to, again, we should be able to decide it. So that is one of the questions. So we've taken this to our legal counsel, said, okay, not every law that's passed, now it has to, and this is one of the reasons the government is so slow. So the legislation has passed this law. Now it has to be judicially reviewed. Well, there has to be a lawsuit. Someone has to go before a judge and say, is this legal? So what I think that'll be the next thing we have to do is, I think this law is unconstitutional, and here's why. And I'm sure it ends up at the Michigan Supreme Court. Excuse me. I'm sure it ends up at the Michigan Supreme Court. So,
and there will be plans of doing that.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes. So
because it doesn't go into effect until next November after the election.
No, that's not correct. One of the let me go back. There's never a simple answer in Lansing. When you vote on a bill in Lansing, obviously you vote yes or no.
Yeah.
Those are your two choices. You can vote yes or you can vote no. And then we vote on effect. So let's say we pass a bill. The next thing they're going to do is they're going to say, when does this law take effect? And there's immediate effect, which is self-defining. As soon as the governor signs it into law, it is a law. And then there's the next, if it's not granted immediate effect, then it goes into effect 90 days after we adjourn. Okay? So remember, now we're really, Bruce, you want to talk about going out of sequence. Here we go. The presidential election in Michigan has been moved forward. Now it is the fourth Tuesday. All right? So of February, the fourth Tuesday of February, right? So this is a new law. Well, they wanted that law to take effect, and they did not get immediate effect to it. So they had to adjourn us early. This is another one. Not only are the Democrats leaving, they lost their majority. They want this law to take effect. So it will take effect 90 days after we adjourned November 9th. So we can do the math and see when that comes out.
Wow, that's crazy. Tom, we talked a little bit about your deer season. Neither one of us got a buck, but we both put some venison in the freezer. You got a doe, I think?
Yep, got a doe. I consider that a success.
Absolutely.
Ebles does a great job, and I'm looking forward to enjoing it.
Absolutely. I got two does, so we got some meat in the freezer. Chris, how about you?
I got a deer at 60 miles an hour out there on Hoover Road right before Christmas. So I got to thank Curry's for towing and helping me out with that. The insurance totaled it. I got to thank Benton Baker and Blaine and Jared there, because I walked in there one afternoon last week, and I walked out with a new vehicle. And so they're awesome there. I'd definitely go there. They definitely helped me out big time, so thank you.
Great.
Tom, we've been talking with you about really a huge issue, and I think a lot of people are kind of snoozing on this, about what a huge, impactful law this was, the new law that takes zoning for wind and solar power away from local government and pushes it up to the MPSC and at the state level. So let me ask you this. What happens if local townships or counties, and let's back up just a little bit. Some townships make zoning decisions. A township has the ability to do their own zoning, but they can also choose to not do zoning and defer it to the county, and then the county will do the zoning for them. So what happens if local townships or counties have existing zoning regulations that conflict with the new law? Let's say a month ago or 6 months ago, they said, no, we are not going to allow that, a solar farm or whatever. How does the new law impact that?
So the new law, the supremacy clause in the Michigan Constitution, it disregards it. The local zoning, they don't even look at it. It's not even an issue. It's not a challengeable thing. The town. I was on the township board, Grant Township. When I say Grant Township, I mean Clare County, not either by Jay's. Township board, they don't even consider it. So the wind and solar people don't even look at that. That is no longer an issue. It's like it never even existed.
What if someone has it in their master plan for the county or the township? Don't care?
Gone. Doesn't matter.
So
I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It's. I don't want to say it. I don't think it doesn't matter. Let me be really clear on that. The new law says that this supersedes it, and it goes to the MPSC.
So the supporters of this have seen claims that Snyder or someone did this type of thing in the past where they took control over the local zoning. Is this true? Has there been any examples of this?
I can't think of one now. No, that's a great question. I can't think of one. When you think of Snyder, there's always been the what is it when a city goes bankrupt, Benton Harbor, the state comes in and says we're going to appoint someone, and there's a name for that position.
There is.
Emergency manager.
Yes.
There you go. I should have had 2 coffees this morning. So the state can come in and appoint an emergency manager for a township, for a school, for a city. By law, the city of Big Rapids has to be solvent. We cannot run a debt. We're not the federal government. And the county of Big Rapids has to have a balanced budget. And the state of Michigan has to have a balanced budget. And if they are not good in managing their money and they're going bankrupt, I referenced Benton Harbor. We could talk about Hazel Park. We could talk about the Flint water crisis.
I was there.
There we go. So the state of Michigan will come in and they will take it over, and they have amazing authority to do that. They can void contracts. They can come in and fire people. And what they have to do is listen. Here we have to get back to you cannot have debt at the end of the year. So that would be the emergency manager. That'd be the only thing I could think of.
The emergency manager can void contracts?
Yes. Yes.
Strategy.
So.
Just kidding.
Well, but I mean that's so. Think of Sheriff Miller does a great job. Yeah. I have nothing but high regards for him. I'm going to use him as an example. So Big Rapid, and again, this is an example, people. I'm not saying this is not fact. So if Big Rapids, Mecosta County is becoming insolvent, if they're spending more money than what they have, then the emergency manager can come in and say, Sheriff Miller, I understand that you have 15 deputies. I'm going to fire 4 of them. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. And then they're going to go to the Department of Public Works, and then they're going to go to the city of Big Rapids, and they're going to do whatever they need to do to get down to this level of expense. And it's not at the next contract, it's today. They have that. So that is, but that's, again, there are very few examples of this. You have to go, Benton Harbor, Hazel Park, cities have to be bankrupt. The difference with the wind and solar is now it's anywhere in the state of Michigan, regardless of current existing zoning, has now been superseded. It now goes to Lansing to an appointed board. Right. I mean, it's egregious. This is a really bad law.
Now, if eventually, when the governor is replaced, can they immediately reappoint the board?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Backdate and remove certain things?
So that's an interesting thing. Now, if you have a contract, so let's say Consumers Energy puts in, and pick one, pick a solar farm, pick a wind farm, and it's amazing when they start talking about these numbers, $500 million or some big thing. If you go back through, how do I reverse the zoning? It's already there. How do I void this with consumers? Because they said, wait a minute, there is a contract. We had a deal. So yes, you can go back and change the law, but with anything, zoning is not retroactive. Laws are not retroactive. So if I am zoned agriculture and I'm plowing my corn in, and all of a sudden they say, nope, now we're going to zone it to commercial. Well, I'm grandfathered in. That's the definition of it. So what it could do, it would stop it going forward. Hey, there's no more of these going forward. You're not going to continue to supersede local zoning. But the ones that are in are in. Those would be tough to pull out. And again, oh gosh, I don't know if, Bruce, I'm anywhere close to answering your questions. If this was a good idea, if this was an honest, fiscally transparent thing, then we wouldn't need federal subsidies. We wouldn't need laws to make it happen. If consumers really thought this was the way of the future, they would be doing this of their own accord. The free market would decide.
Why don't they use the land on the state-owned highways and the medians and on the ditches and stuff? Why do they have to take the land? Why not use the state-owned land that they already have?
Right. That's a great question. And that was my question. Would you like to see a state forest cut down? If you believe in green, if you're telling me that you like solar power, awesome. Let's go find a state forest and cut it down and put up your solar field, because that's what you're saying. Or the roads. It comes back to money. It's cheaper to take 160 acres, picture 160 acres, a quarter mile by a quarter mile, and now the density is there. It's all in one spot. If I did solar along 131, I'm going to have 10 miles of solar, 12 feet wide to get the same number of power there.
So let's say all of this went in. We go 100% green.
Okay.
How am I going to be affected? Is my energy cost going to be reduced, or is the only person that's going to win in the long run is going to be the corporations, because now they don't have to pay to buy the resources of
right.
coal and things like that?
So what's really interesting, again, I am not here. One of my New Year's resolutions is to be a better person, in general. I'm not bashing consumers. That's not what I'm at. I'm not bashing DTE. They get paid. They go to the MPSC and they get paid 10% of their expenses. So if I spend $1 billion, and that's hard to imagine. If I spend $1 billion, I get a 10% return. I get $100 million a year return, right?
Each year?
Each year. You get a 10% return. That's what the MPSC agrees to. And they have to do that.
Law.
No, that's existing. That's existing. So what I'm saying is, if consumers genuinely believe that solar was a good investment, they would be doing it now. And they don't do it now because it's not a good investment. They need the federal subsidies. They have to get... So to answer your question, your rates are going up. Okay? And I'm not saying this as, this is my opinion, this is my thought. Look at every place that's done it. Look at California. Look at Germany. Germany is building coal plants. They're trying to reactivate their nuclear power plants. Wow. Exactly. Because they said this. Listen, everybody, there's not a better environmentalist than Bruce Borkovich. This guy loves the outside, right? I want to leave the world a better place. I understand that. Yes, I don't pollute. I recycle. We do all these things. What I'm saying is, if you do this, you're going to have interruptible power. You're going to have rolling blackouts. Look at what Germany pays for power, and they try to do this. Look at what California pays for power because they tried to do this, and they're going away from it.
So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was on the robotics team in First of Michigan, I had some friends who are daughters of the now CEO of Consumers. And I remember having a conversation 10 years ago with her, asking about this whole EV. And she said, and I quote, if everyone went out and bought an EV tomorrow, right. We don't have the infrastructure for everyone to start charging. We will have charging their cars. We will have rolling blackouts. We don't have the infrastructure. Right. And she said we won't have the infrastructure for many, many years.
Correct.
We're nowhere near close. And that's still the effect today.
That is absolutely the effect today.
And they're removing the dams, or they want to do something with it.
The dams, yeah.
So what are they going to replace all that energy with?
Right. The dams are 1% of generation. That's I don't want to say it's nothing, but to me the dam is more of a hey, I built a house on a lake, and now you're telling me the lake might be leaving? Wow, that's a big deal.
Property. Well,
there you go. Who owns the property? That's one of the interesting questions. You're absolutely right. We don't have the infrastructure to do this, and we're not going to. Consumers has already committed to taking out their coal plants by 2035. West Isle of Holland, that's going to go out. But they want to replace them with natural gas. And because it's dependable, the issue with interruptible power, and wind and solar are absolutely interruptible power. We live in a world where we still want to turn the lights on. Yeah. This is our standard of living. Well, if there's no wind and it's the middle of the night, we're in Michigan and it's in January. It's pretty dark out at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. We still need a natural gas plant to turn the lights on. And so you have to pay for that plant if you're using it or not. And that's why wind and solar, they don't do anything but raise our rates. Because now you have basically two systems. When this system doesn't work, when your wind and solar is not generating power.
We live in Michigan.
We live in Michigan. Yeah, surprise. Now we have to turn on this other facility. Well, it's like having a car. Hey, listen, I only want to pay for half of my car because I don't drive it at night. Well, it doesn't work that way. Right. You know, this is your car. It's up to you how much you use it. Well, this is your natural gas plant. So back to your rates. Now consumers comes in and says, all right, you're telling me that I have to do this. Well, I'm going to have to build this solar field and I need a 10% return. Oh, by the way, I still need to build this natural gas plant because I need a 10% return. So absolutely your rates are going up. Not my opinion. Look at cities or states. I'm sorry. Look at states or countries that have already tried this. And it has been terrible for the consumer.
Wow. Tom, in a sentence or two, I hate to box people in, but in a sentence or two, two-part question. Number one, can you give me the philosophical, if you will, reason why the Republicans oppose this bill? And then can you do the same thing? Can you give me the philosophical reason why the Democrats supported it?
Sure. And you know what? I want to start off by saying I don't believe there's bad people on either side. I think people genuinely are trying to do what they think is right. Great. And we can have this disagreement. Bruce, you and I might go down to Curry's, and I'm going to get a Coke, and you're going to get a Pepsi. Okay, I understand that. You drive a Chevy, I drive a Ford. I'm a 270, you're not 6. We can disagree on everything. I think there is a fundamental difference in Lansing, and I'm blown past my 2 sentences. I believe in my heart that you can make decisions about your life better than anybody else. I don't care how well-intended, I don't care how educated the bureaucrat is. Nobody knows as much about your life as you do. So you might say, that doesn't work for me. Here's what I want to do. So to answer your question, now that I've laid the groundwork, there is absolutely a group in Lansing that says, no, let the individuals have that decision-making power. Let them make their own decisions. If you don't want wind and solar in Mecosta County, that's your zoning, so be it. And there's absolutely a group in Lansing that says, listen, you just don't see the big picture. You know, they're not trying to be condescending, but they are absolutely saying we can make decisions about your life better than you can.
That is,
and I don't know how not to take it personally.
Well, I think that's really well stated. So one side says we the people, the other side says we know better. We know what's good for the people.
Right.
Nothing scares me as much as anyone in power, elected officials, anyone in power who says I know what's best for you.
Correct.
That is the scariest thing in the world to me.
That's my favorite Ronald Reagan quote. The scariest words ever mentioned were, I'm from the government and I'm here to help
you.
Right. No, this governmental efficiency. When I sit there in this room of 110 people and I'm used to signing the front of a paycheck. I'm used to covering payroll. And I look at this and think, oh my gosh, we're going to try and put the government in charge of energy, or it's another topic, but could you imagine the government in charge of healthcare? Like, oh my gosh, I have, the gray, you can probably hear the gray hair over the radio sprouting. So,
can you recall if there were any debates on the floor regarding this topic, or did it kind of just get pushed through?
Kind of got pushed through. And this
no
is
debates.
This is the part that bothers me. So, here's how it works. And again, this is, I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill. What is that? What is the video?
Oh, yeah, from like 1950.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Here's your Schoolhouse Rock thing. There we go. I didn't think you were old enough, Chris.
No, we watched it.
So you can go introduce a bill, and then it gets assigned to a committee. This obviously gets assigned to the Energy Committee. Well, the Energy Committee, like the chairman, lives in Hamtramck. Well, they're not putting wind and solar in Hamtramck. Everybody that votes for this, other than Traverse City and Marquette, lives south of 94. This is one of those things where they're passing a law knowing it doesn't affect their district. Hey, here's some rubes up in the thumb. Here's some podunk.
How did they get on the committee then?
So we all serve at the pleasure of the speaker. And again, Schoolhouse Rock, the Speaker of the House, Joe Tate, who's got an impressive resume. I thank him for his service. He played football for Michigan State, right? The Speaker of the House appoints everyone to their committees. The Speaker of the House determines who the chairman of it is. And of course, like I'm on the Labor Committee, and I know you're going to be surprised, but there are 7 Democrats and 3 Republicans.
And you're on the Ethics Committee.
And on the Ethics and on Transportation. I just use that as an example. So even if one Democrat says, I don't know, I'm not going to vote on this. Well, now it's 6-4. I mean, they've never lost a vote because they get to determine who's on the committee. The Speaker of the House can remove me from my committees. I mean, he doesn't answer it anyway. This doesn't get voted on. His decision. He could come in. Now, it'd have to be egregious. It would have to be, it's not a parking ticket. It's not a, hey, Tom, you had too much to drink and you wore a lampshade home from the Christmas party. It's not that. But he could fire my staff. He can take my parking spot. He can take my office. So he cannot stop me from being an elected official. So I am still an elected official, but I may have to stand in the back of the room and vote thumbs up or thumbs down. So absolutely the Speaker of the House gets to determine who's on these committees. So
we touched on the Ethics Committee. Can you tell a little bit more what has happened in the last year with the Ethics Committee? I remember you talking to me about this before.
Sure. The silence will be deafening. So I'm again, you show up as a freshman. Now I'm a 53-year-old freshman. I'm not a new guy, but you show up as a freshman and you're excited to do this ethics and oversight. Let me answer it with a story. I don't know how much time we have left. So I'm on the township board. And we have to do Freedom of Information, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act training. So I do the Michigan Township Association training. I do our county training because I want to make sure I comply. Well, it was really easy. We just, you file everything in the email. When somebody wants it, you send it to them. When I get down to Lansing, I ask, all right, who's my FOIA person? If I have a question on FOIA, there are some things that are not public knowledge. Like you can't come in and say, hey, I want the state police, I want all their home addresses. Well, I'm not going to give you that. No, I'm not going to give you our security program. These are things that are, and these are just examples of it. So I ask, who's my FOIA person? And they look at me and said, oh, we don't do that. So I kind of chuckle. Okay. I'm like, okay, no, seriously, who is it? I did not realize the state legislature in Michigan is not subject to FOIA. Wow. Even to this day, it is not. So if you were to send me a FOIA request and say, Tom, I want to know everything about that. Now, our office policy is absolutely, we comply. Yes, we will comply with it.
You are not required.
We are not required to do it. We are not. So Michigan is the only state in the nation where the legislature and the executive branch, the governor's not subject either.
The governor's is exempt. I've tried already.
We are named exemption. So my first bill was, well, that's not right. I can't go. Like the school board, the fire department, the library board. I mean, obviously townships, obviously counties, police departments. Everybody is subject to FOIA. If you take state money, you are subject to FOIA. Any public building except the legislature. Well, that's a terrible example of leading by, that's a terrible example of how to lead. So my first bill in the Ethics Committee, it was March 11th, we introduced FOIA. And then we had a companion bill to say, all right, the governor should be subject to FOIA. And we should have we should disclose if we have any conflict of interest. So to answer your question about the Ethics Committee, we have voted on 0 bills all year.
Why?
This is in 23. We heard testimony on 0 bills all year. My FOIA bill, I'm on the committee and I cannot get on the agenda. They have no authority. They have no obligation to call on me.
What has happened during the meetings then? What have they done?
Well, we got to hear from the Carl Levin Institute. We got to hear from politicians, not voters, who talked on the redistricting commission. Secretary of State Benson came in and gave a dog and pony show. So we met 6 times, never voted, never heard testimony, never saw a bill. Wow. So welcome to the Ethics Committee. Wow. Right. A little frustrating.
We've been here with Tom Kunse today, our representative, and it's been a pleasure for me to get to know Tom over the last half of a year. And he's a wonderful person, a dad, a husband, but he's a true representative of we the people. So, Tom, thank you for coming in, and I hope the fight you continue the fight against this. If there's a way to legally challenge this, I hope we can do it.
Absolutely, we will. Yeah. And I think, and this is a little bit of speculation. First of all, Bruce, thank you for the very kind words, and Chris, thank you. It's a speculation on my part, but I think it's going to happen. I'm hoping that people gather signatures and put this on the ballot in November of 24. Exactly.
It's where it belongs.
Let the people decide.
Let the people decide. Partisan. Right?
There we go.
So, Chris, about time for us to talk about the community buzz. Yeah. TNR Mecosta stands for Trap, neuter, return. And we will help control the feral cat population through spay and neuter. You can find TNR Mecosta on their website, tnrmecosta.org.
If you're interested in joining the Rotary Club of Big Rapids, you can find them on Facebook at the Rotary Club of Big Rapids, or stop by the lower level of the Artworks building on Tuesdays at noon. For the first 2 lunches are on them.
And the Angels at the Misiola Curry Comfort Home are looking for donations for the home. Check out their website, MisiolaCurryComfortHome.com, or for questions, call 231-287-2208.
The Animal Rescue Coalition is a nonprofit no-kill shelter. They're always in need of donations of food and toys. They are the Mecosta County's only shelter. They also rehabilitate abused and neglected pets. So remember to adopt, don't shop. And any pet is a lifetime commitment, so don't take it serious. If so, take it seriously. Each animal they have all need a forever home.
And we would like to thank our sponsors this week. Rivertown Real Estate, Lori Brock. Love you, Lori. Lori's my local hero here. Didn't know her before this fight we were just in, but thank you, Lori. And Haley, your daughter, real estate agent.
Thank you, Pet Boutique, located next to Big Rapids Lumber and Hardware.
Also, Paris Creek Jewelry. Corey, who not only runs a great jewelry company, but has stepped up into local government.
And Purely Clean Services, commercial cleaning services for the entire listening area. If you have a business that's in need of cleaning, contact Lisa at Purely Clean Services, 231-660-6775.
Also, the Barrington Firearms Training Center. Get your concealed pistol license from Barrington Firearms Training Center. Classes are January 27th or 28th, taught by local officers. They will also be at the Wax and Cadillac for the Gun and Knife Show, Saturday, July 13th, 9 to 5, Sunday, January 14th, 9 to 3. And I can tell you, I sent my wife to this training, and she was a little intimidated. Not an area where historically you've seen a ton of women. They did a fantastic job. They assure you at the beginning of the training a great teaching technique. You will pass. And they do that well, teaching and making people comfortable doing it. They did a fantastic job.
And also thank you to all the supportive businesses and people of the community behind our show. We thank each and every one of you. If you would like to sponsor our show, Big Rapids Buzz, call your best friend Jen here at B1039 at 231-796-1103, and she'll get you started.
Listen again next Monday at 8:30 a.m. for Big Rapids Buzz with me, Bruce Borkovich,
and Chris Long, Big Rapids Buzz.